That 100% is going to be the culture on YouTube, is just laying into Amazon Prime and these creators and how stupid they are to invest millions and millions of dollars in something that is a complete joke. First point, number 8. Rings of Power makes Sauron a more interesting character.
Wrong.
All right, so let's get into this.
It's literally the same thing. They're trying to tell it from a female, like two female Harfoots rather than Frodo and Sam in The Lord of the Rings. They're just retelling that story. Hey, welcome back to the wacky, wonderful Wiseworks podcast, everybody. We're back with a podcast. We got this episode, and then we got next Friday's episode, and then we're done for the year.
That's right.
So 2 more episodes. And
do you think we should do that kind of thing where we, on the off season, we release an old episode for people to be reminded we did that?
On what? On the YouTube as a live?
I don't know. People do that when they don't have an episode, and I don't know why, but they do that, and we've never done
just
that.
to give somebody to watch. Josh, why does it look like you've been rescued from a fire and they're giving you one of those comfort blankets?
Joshua looks like he's a refugee from Gaza right now. You know what I'm saying?
Sheesh. Wow.
Because
coming in hot.
It's coming in hot. It's cold out there, just like the song "Baby, It's Cold Outside."
But we're inside.
Well, I'm still cold. I don't know why.
Okay.
I've been chilled. The past 2 days have been super cold here. It's taken a nosedive into the cold temperatures, and I'm chilled. I don't know why.
Okay.
Maybe Jack Frost gave me a little
little kiss.
Blew up my pant leg. He blew up my pant leg earlier.
Blow up your.
I guess so.
He blew up your pant leg, or
Give you a
blow?
wedgie.
No. He gave me a little cold air up my pants leg.
Do you guys remember when Jack Frost used to make the village people icicle coins? Do you remember that?
I don't.
Jack Frost the emperor, the king, took all the monies.
I do remember that. That was claymation.
Yeah, and Jack Frost just wanted to help, but he was seen as kind of like the bad guy because he brought the cold. So what he did was he iced it up for the village people, and they would take a handsaw, and they would cut the icicles into little coins, and then they would draw.
You gotta bring.
That was the original. That was the original money printing right there. Is Jack Frost?
Yeah, that's I don't think that's a smart way to do currency.
No, because it goes away.
Because it goes away pretty quick.
Jack Frost got to keep that place cold, and it's going to be a real crisis.
Yeah.
It's just Jack Frost. 1979.
Let's see.
Claymation version.
79.
79. I don't know if you can see that on my screen.
Well, I'm pulling it up here so we can take a look.
I don't think I've seen that one.
You didn't see it? You remember the claymation Rudolph?
Oh yeah.
Similar group.
Yeah.
Bizarre sort of thing here. Rudolph is so prevalent with the Christmas songs and especially with the movie. But how often do we see him in Santa Claus media? He's not in the Santa Claus. He's not in any other depictions of Santa Claus that I've seen on TV or movies.
Right.
You never see Rudolph ever.
You just don't.
See him.
These are the town people.
This is the most famous reindeer of all.
Some money.
Right. The most famous of all.
Is that
here's
an
the
analogy
townspeople?
The government printing money?
Maybe. Yeah, and then here's them using the gold coin to buy things, or the ice coin, you might say.
Interesting.
And here's Jack Frost helping the cold weather.
Yeah, making it cold.
Yeah, that's what he was doing up my pant leg earlier.
Can you stop saying that?
Yeah, and he was basically a ghost. He could just
Mhm.
hover above the people, right?
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah, that's a wild card animated. That's got to be on like Tubi or something. He didn't
Yeah.
say
Oh,
where it was. It's
probably.
got to be on something like Tubi.
well, just before we get started, everyone kind of always thinks about this, but when it comes to the Christmas season, people feel obligated to watch Christmas movies, I
Yeah.
guess.
Hmm.
And I think the big Christmas movie this year is the one on Amazon Prime with Eddie Murphy.
Oh.
And
Okay.
and
Haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either. I don't think I'm going to see it. If you guys are you inclined to watch a Christmas movie, or do you just
We've
let
done
it happen?
we've done it already. We've done a couple
Yeah.
of them. We did
Yeah.
what was it, Jingle All the Way with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, we did. Even though,
We hit up
yeah,
that one.
we did
We
that.
hit
We did
up
Polar Express.
Polar Express.
Now,
Um,
let's be honest. Are you doing this because it's Christmas and it's a
Yeah.
part of getting into the season, or you feel
Yeah.
obligated?
it's part of the
What's the
season. It's
motivation?
part of getting in the
Part of
mood
the
for the
season.
season. Yeah.
Part of the season.
Have you
Because
seen
what
the
happens in the
holiday?
Polar Express.
Oh
Yes.
yeah,
Have you seen
We've
the
all seen
holiday, Joe?
The Last Holiday.
No,
The
no,
la-
no. Just
I don't
the
think
holiday.
I don't think I've heard of it.
It's got Bill Nye. It's got Liam Neeson. It's got Keira Knightley. I figured you'd have
No,
seen it because it's got Keira Knightley.
I must have
Mm.
overlooked this.
Got a ton. It's Alan Rickman is in it.
What?
It's got a ton of big names. And
What was the one you guys were watching with Jack Black and
that was I forget
Has it
what
got
that one.
Jude
Cameron
Law in it?
Diaz?
Yeah, it's got Jude Law.
What are you talking about, Keira Knightley? I'm not seeing her on the
Oh,
list.
that's Jude Law is the one in that's wait, which one
Uh,
am I thinking? The Holiday. Yeah, that's the Holiday, right?
Jack
Oh,
Black.
Holiday is the one with Jack Black and
Yes,
Jude Law.
that's the one I'm
That's
talking
the one
about.
where
You're
they
talking about
swap.
a different
That's the
movie.
one where they swap houses.
So just
Um,
Holiday.
Yeah. What's the one I'm thinking?
Holiday
I don't know.
movie.
That's the one
Um,
I watched with you guys. It's
Is it
very
Last
rom-com heavy.
Christmas?
Let's see. A Christmas movie with Keira Knightley. How about that?
Yeah, type that in. Why am I blanking on the name?
I don't know how to spell
I got nothing
her
for
name
you.
quite right. Love Actually.
Love Actually. That's the one.
I haven't
Okay.
seen Love Actually, which
Yeah.
I actually was going to watch this because I just realized recently that she was in this.
Yeah, give this one a watch. It's pretty fun. It's fun. It's funny.
Oh,
It's
oh yeah.
heartwarming.
I do remember you guys watching this.
Dude, it's got like everybody in it.
Mhm.
Nice.
It's a
Mr. Bean?
big movie. Yeah, Mr. Bean. He's not in it a ton. He's in it only briefly. But yeah,
Hugh Grant.
Hugh Grant.
Grant.
What's his name?
We still have to. One of my favorite Christmas movies is
I gotta watch
The
this for
Muppets
Juliet.
Christmas Carol.
Oh yeah,
And it's such a funny time. And Michael
Martin Freeman.
Caine.
I need some Michael Caine in my life.
Michael Caine did a fantastic
Mhm.
job on that,
Look.
even though it was a Muppets movie. And we got to support Michael Caine.
Yeah.
So
So in Love Actually, there's a specific scene that reminded me of Joe.
with what character?
With
what happens?
with Keira Knightley. At the beginning of the movie, she's getting married,
Okay.
and there's the groom's best man films everything,
Okay.
right? And then she goes to get the tape from him.
Mm-hmm.
And it's what he did was something that I feel like you would have done. So you'll have to watch the movie and see
To
what
Keira Knightley,
and
he did
report back.
this.
you'll have to watch the movie because I think you'll appreciate it.
Oh,
You got to
man.
watch it and report back next time
Yes,
we
you
record.
gotta watch
If he
it,
does something
report back.
smooth to get Kira's a giggle or a smile or a
You
second
gotta watch.
glance.
You gotta watch. You
Ah.
gotta watch.
How much? Look, I know I'm married. I
It's
have
just
a
kind of
kid,
hard to
but
watch.
I think when it comes to other women, I think the most important my dream would be just to get like a second glance from the mom Keira Knightley, today's Keira Knightley. You know what I mean?
Okay, modern
Like
Present day Keira
yeah,
Knightley.
like her hands are not old, but the age is approaching them. You know what I'm saying?
You guys see my tan line?
Yeah, I can.
See
Yeah.
where my hand is darker
Yeah.
than my arm?
Yeah, it's there.
Because wearing those long sleeves in the summer.
Look, this is all I want. I don't want like a big flirtatious thing with a woman who's not my wife. But what I would want is to, I don't know, say something that's charming or funny.
And get a smile.
The day when I meet Keira Knightley inevitably, and as she's walking away, she gives me a little, or I've already turned my back. See, I've already turned my back, and I'm already back doing what I was doing. And she gives me a second thought. She gives me a second
I'm
thought.
gonna tell your wife.
Just gives me that real toothy
Text her
Keira
right
Knightley
now.
grin. You know what I'm saying?
Text your wife.
Just
now.
one little look back, one little second thought from that. That's a dream of mine.
All right.
And in my dream, I don't even enjoy it. I want to see it in a movie scene. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, where you're not even
in my
looking
scenario. I wasn't even paying attention, but I want to see me in that scenario. I want to see it from third person.
Just
like a movie.
Only
scene.
Keira Knightley.
Just Keira Knightley because I'm charming. That's what I want to. That's what I'd like to do. And then I don't know. And then maybe in the future, me and her husband and us and our kids can become good friends and have dinner on Christmas Eve and stuff like that. Maybe she'll.
I love this whole scenario. I love it.
I can't help it. I think she's a very pretty lady. And she's very cute, and I like her personality.
And you imprinted on her.
I like that bounce. I would say, hold on, she's older. I would say she probably imprinted on youngster me, if we're being honest.
No, that's not how imprinting works.
Yes, it is.
You imprint onto something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When a chick is born, it imprints on its mother. The mother doesn't imprint on the chick.
Well, then why do we say Jacob imprinted on baby girl?
Because he saw her and there was a connection made in him. That's what imprinting is when you see something or someone and the imprint is in you.
I imprinted.
You imprinted on her. Yeah.
Dang it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someday when she sees me, she might have a little imprintation of her own. Because I'm such a freaking stud. You know what I'm saying? Me with my pasty white skin because I've been indoors too much and just my non-full but trying out facial hair kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Got a real Will Turner thing going on.
A boy can dream. And a man can dream as well. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
We're more like a grandpa can dream, Grandpa Joe.
Look, all right, and everything I said, you can ditto it with Rose Leslie. Just ditto it.
Okay.
Just take everything with Keira Knightley and say also and or Rose Leslie. It works.
Yeah, you do got that thing for, you watched that one TV show that she was in. And
I also watched Game of Thrones. She's been in a ton, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. She hasn't been in a ton, but dang, is she good at what she does.
All right. First
segment? You guys aren't going to join me in a little bit of gawking?
No, I'm good.
No,
I'm good.
Yeah, you guys are still in the insecure phase of your relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're more secure in the relationship, then you can think about famous people that you like. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Let's turn the tides, and I want to go over something that actually I came across. I was looking up different shows or movies that were going to be coming out, or maybe we're hitting a season 2, and I came across the wildest article I probably have seen all year. Here at the end of the year, I think this is the craziest thing I've seen all year.
At the end of all things.
At the end of all things, and honestly, this might be the end of all things. So we're going to look at basically the Screen Rant article pitted Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson against the Rings of Power, and this is the article.
They not too long ago re-upped season 2, so they announced.
Yeah, no, it's not too long ago they re-upped it. They're already filming it, dude. It's already almost done.
I'm saying
I totally thought when you said let's turn the tides, I was like, that would have been a perfect segue for like a Pirates of the Caribbean thing.
Yeah, but
me
I
too.
did that. I said
Yeah.
that because we were talking about Keira Knightley.
But I think I saved it when I said here at the end of all things. I didn't even mean for that to be a Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Right. At the end of all things, here it is. 8 things the Rings of Power does better than Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies.
Wow.
So I thought it would be a good time if we go through each of these and just kind of lay into it a little bit. Thoughts, express how we disagree, because I'm assuming we will disagree with these.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because first of all, the pretentiousness to even consider writing
The
this article.
audacity.
Who wrote
the
this?
audacity.
Screen Rant. I don't know what the author is. The author's name
No,
here?
but it says right there. Well, I
Usually.
can't read it
By
though. It says,
Angel Shaw.
okay.
Who is Angel Shaw? Oh, okay, a feminist.
I was gonna
okay,
say
do you
if
remember-
it's somebody who's like Mexican or of
We
Latin
did this-
descent, it would be Angel.
No, this is a
We did this
white,
before
woke,
with-
feminist, pixie cut woman.
We did this.
She's
before last
probably.
time
Does she have her
when
her
Rings of Power
pronouns here?
came out? We went through an article and ripped the author to shreds. I don't know if you guys remember that. Do you remember? It was like some guy that wrote this article, and we just
probably.
like tore him up.
Mm-hmm.
Look,
Well,
we're about
I
to
want to
do this
get into.
again.
I want to see some of her
the
points.
And we are going to have stupid pop-ups the whole time, so I apologize. So let's get into the first one. First off, the premise of this is insulting. Let's see how insulting these points are that are being made, all right?
Okay.
First point, number 8. Rings of Power makes Sauron a more interesting character.
Wrong.
All right,
Wrong.
so let's get into this.
I don't know if
my first initial thought
is the word of it gives him backstory, but a wrong backstory.
The wrong backstory.
Yeah.
They actually just made up a backstory for Sauron that's not correct.
And it's less interesting than the actual correct backstory from the Silmarillion and other writings about Sauron during this first and second age.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to admit, I'll give him this. In Peter Jackson's movie, we have like no backstory. So there is no backstory in the movie.
We don't get anything.
Incorrect. The prologue in the Fellowship of the Ring about Sauron making the ring and crafting the one ring.
Right.
The story there.
Yeah. It gives you enough for a villain.
What kind of apologist are you?
Look, no, I get what Josh is saying, and
there is no backstory for Sauron in Peter Jackson's
movie.
He's
just the villain, and that's fine.
Yeah.
He is literally a dark force in the movies.
Yeah, and and in the books, he's got an awesome story, and I don't know why they went with this.
I think, look, if you were to say Sauron during the first and second age is more interesting because his character is more dynamic than in the third age, that can be argued. But the Rings of Power version is not better because it is not actually the story of Sauron.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I would agree.
He goes,
but
have you ever thought of making the metals?
But you can't say this is more interesting because Lord of the Rings Sauron doesn't have a story or is more interesting than that. You can't say this is more interesting because they didn't give us enough in the Lord of the Rings.
No, I'm not
movies,
agreeing
Peter
with his
Jackson.
article. I'm just
you can't say that at all. There's no.
You're wanting to argue with me.
Lord of the Rings.
Hey,
because you brought up something
arguing
stupid.
With you.
You said I want to.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm not arguing with you here.
You are. You're by the tone of your voice.
And I'm just saying, they wrote a character who asks a blacksmith and a metal worker if they've ever heard of metallurgy.
Metal.
Yeah. You ever?
Hey, ever heard of a hammer?
You ever thought of? He asks the blacksmith. You ever thought of mixing the metals?
Yeah. What? We've been alive for thousands of
years. Dudes who
never thought of mixing metals.
Have been alive for 30 years and have never learned anything about metallurgy have thought, I wonder what would happen if I mix these two metals.
All right.
What's the
I think
second?
that's a pretty good enough grab there. Okay, so Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings changed Elrond.
How is this
Elrond.
even a point? A pro? They
So-
changed Elrond. That's
All
not a
right.
pro.
I'll say
Wait,
this:
who-
when I didn't
I'm
look through
confused
all
by
of these,
this.
but when I first opened the article, I scrolled really quickly down and I landed on this one, and my brain instantly started to create a defense. And so,
I'm
in fact,
I'm
so
confused by this. Can you explain what do they mean by changed Elrond?
all right, so Elrond is among the more critical characters of the Lord of the Rings lore.
Okay.
And though Peter Jackson's film communicated this to a point, their version of the elves was nothing like Tolkien described. Okay, I'll get into that in just a second. This had much to do with Jackson's decision to make Arwen a stronger character with which was a great choice otherwise because feminism, to add more conflict to her relationship with Aragorn. Elrond was aggressive and distrustful as a result, lying and manipulating Arwen to keep her out of harm's way. The Rings of Power's version is more faithful to Tolkien's work, wise, kind, and enduringly good. Now, that's incorrect because if we look at one of the most extensive descriptions of what Elrond was, it was in The Hobbit.
Mhm.
All right.
Mhm.
So if I look up, if I just do a quick Google search, it can give me a reference. Let's see. So, how is Elrond described in the Lord of the Rings books? This is a very easy Google search. All right. So let's see. So let me share this page right quick. This is just the top article when you search this, okay? So here we go. Where was it that it describes him? I think it was in the book. Okay. I actually probably should have kept my articles open personally, but
yeah, maybe looking for
looking for it. Okay, look. Basically, this article, I don't know where it is because this is getting into the first and second age.
But here it is. He was as noble and fair as an elf lord.
There it is.
As
yes.
strong as a warrior, as wise as a wizard, as venerable as a king of dwarves, and as kind as summer. He appeared neither young nor old, despite his seeming agelessness. That's who he was.
Well, that's how Elrond is in Peter Jackson. And you might say he appeared more aggressive, but that's not true because if you just look at any scene where he's not interacting in an aggressive manner, like when Frodo wakes up in Rivendell, steps into the room, that warm summer smile that he gives him, and he says, and he says, "You're stronger than you look, Master Frodo," or something like that. You know, freaking. He has a presence of authority and wisdom, but he also is very warm. It doesn't matter that he has an aggressive nature towards the relationship.
You have to take it into context. This is a man who is, close to leaving this realm and is uncertain about the future of Middle Earth, doesn't know exactly what's going to happen, and is scared to leave his daughter behind.
Yeah. And also, just to counter it with the Rings of Power a little bit, you want to talk about the Jackson trilogy changed Elrond. You changed Elrond simply by making his hair short and making him dirty blonde.
And lame. He's
and
not
lame
even
and
cool.
stupid. He sucks.
He's not even awesome.
He acts stupider than me. He's supposed to be thousands of years old and wise. He's a literal doofus in the Rings of Power.
Let's breeze through a couple more of these.
Yeah, because this is going to take forever for
dwarfs aren't just comic relief in the Rings of Power. So basically, they're saying that in the Jackson trilogy, the dwarves are just the comic relief. Like Gimli is
Nah.
just a comic relief, and they're not respecting that they're like a noble.
Wait a minute.
Nah.
What about
Group
the
of people.
very in-depth friendship love story of two brothers, basically between Legolas and Gimli, where like two people who hate each other ultimately become best friends, and then they don't show this in the movie, but then they become friends and go sailing together and live happily ever after.
What about the complex nature of the Hobbit movie? Jackson did?
I watched The Hobbit not too long ago, like all 3 movies, and you can't tell me after watching Richard Armitage's performance of Oakenshield, that dwarves aren't complex. That was his performance in those movies. No matter what you think of the movies in general, his performance, Balin's performance, even some of the other dwarves in the emotional beats that they have when they interact with each other and when they interact with Frodo, it's definitely more than
Bilbo.
Bilbo. You're right. It's definitely more than comic relief.
Yes, go back and watch.
There's a few characters like the fat dwarf.
Yeah, Bomber
is comic relief. And
absolutely,
that's fine because there's 12 dwarves.
But go back and watch Gimli through the whole section of the Mines of Moria, and tell me he's a comic relief at any point there. He is truly
grieving for his kin.
Grieving for his kin.
He's like, don't grab the beard. But, just the one scene.
Okay.
He's got a lot of
fleeing, but they're fleeing.
Yeah, and that's more consistent with the character through the whole thing.
That's incorrect. I think all of these are just going to be so...
Okay, orcs look fantastic in the Rings of Power. And then this description basically says that practical effects are better than they were in Peter Jackson because just in general, they look better than Peter Jackson's trilogy, the practical effects.
Basically copied his looks, though.
For one, okay, let's be honest about this. Same artists, same people doing it.
Yeah, the orcs themselves didn't look bad, but they're
not worse than the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
no, they just copied Lord of the Rings.
No, and these orcs don't they don't do anything new. They don't change your perspective on the way orcs should look or the way they look in the movies. The practical effects in Lord of the Rings, I mean, just the Uruk-hai.
Yes.
Holy crap. Awesome.
I know. Yeah. It's truly mind-boggling how well the prosthetics and the practical effects of the movies are. I mean, just take a gander at this.
Yeah. The comparison with Harvey Weinstein.
Look, and this also is in Peter Jackson's. Look, these are great. There's nothing wrong with these.
If you look at The Hobbit as well, again, we're often really critical about the CGI nature of a lot of the movie, but there's a lot of practical orcs. There's a lot of them.
A lot more than you.
A lot more than you think.
Yeah, you just overlook it because the white orc is animated.
He's completely CG, but comparing it to some of the CG I've seen recently, he looks incredible.
It's a lot better than some of the stuff coming out of Marvel or Star Wars,
Yeah. Next point.
Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings ruined Isildur. No, it didn't. It told an accurate prelude story summed up in about 4 minutes if you watch the extended version.
Yeah.
And it told the events of what happens accurately.
Yeah.
Unlike Rings of Power, which just freaking made up.
Here's my counter argument. Rings of Power ruins all of Numenor.
Yeah.
All of the Numenor, not just Isildur.
Yeah, they ruin all of Numenor.
There was a guy I worked with who was really excited about Rings of Power because they were getting into Numenor. He watched it, and he was like a big fan of the Numenor lore because he's a big fan of Lord of the Rings. he was so pissed about this.
Yeah,
So
because
pissed about the way they
the
treated the
strongest
Numenorians.
armies, the strongest, like the greatest warriors to have ever lived, essentially, were the Numenorians.
Right.
And man,
they were the strong fist of the human race.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were the ones that created Minas Tirith. I mean, Minas Tirith was the Middle Earth descendants of the Numenorians, the greatest man kingdom in all of Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And it's honestly that's a joke. All right. So number 3, Rings of Power gives elf characters more variety. Okay, so this is just we like that there's women that are in war. We like that there's black elves. We like
Here's
that
the
there's
thing.
old looking elves, when honestly the elves should be all kind of roughly looking the
Yeah.
same age.
A lot of the whole point of elves in general is that they're all sort of similar. They're a different race, and so they're a different species essentially.
They're the first children of Iluvatar.
Yeah, so they're all sort of similar in the way that they look, in their age, in the way that they dress, in the way that they behave. There's some differences where some are more warlike and some are more reserved, and that's the point. That's what makes it interesting.
But the biggest difference is like the difference between kind of the descendants of the Sindarin elves with Legolas and his father, and it contrasted with those in Lothlorien, with Galadriel, where you have more of like the ancient angelic, more we avoid war type elves, and then those who kind of live a harder life or more willing to go to battle. But if you watch them, they're cut from the same cloth. They're not totally different from each other.
Definitely like some silk.
And if you read the Silmarillion, you know that the elves are very warlike. They're extremely warlike. Galadriel specifically is much more of a magic user, an enchantress. But the elves in general were Elrond and his father, and they were very much warriors.
Yeah, and I could be wrong a little bit, but I know 100% Galadriel was not a warrior.
Yeah, no, she wasn't.
I'm pretty sure when I say, because when Rings of Power was coming out right before, I was looking up the history, like the full history of Galadriel. I don't recall her ever being fighting in any battle. I don't think she saw battle personally. Like she wasn't amidst
she
battling.
cast spells and shieldings and wards and helped a great deal in different conflicts, but she
had a lot of loss. She had people that she loved. Other, I think her husband ended up dying, and she from war, but not because she was involved with war, because her husband was. Was it her husband? No, because he's still around. It might have been his father. It's been a while since I looked at her history, but she basically avoids. The reason she goes to Lothlorien is because she's avoiding war. And it's not because she's war torn from personal experience. She's literally she is against it. Like she doesn't want to be a part of war in the land.
I'm sure there's a point about Galadriel here.
Let's see. Yeah. Middle Earth is more diverse in Rings of Power. This is a non-talking point.
Yeah.
We already kind of went into the
you can go and find any number of videos about this.
Look, it's not wrong to include. Obviously, it's not being mean or racist to say that diverse people aren't supposed to be in Middle Earth, because Tolkien was very clear that Middle Earth is supposed to be some ancient version of Europe, which did not include back in the day anybody else outside of white people. I mean, it just didn't include. So it's not racist to say that Tolkien's intention was that this is a very whitewashed people group.
It was European. I mean, all of history is, depending on where you go, that the way people look in those areas were the way people looked in those areas for centuries.
Yeah.
And there wasn't much mixing and changing and mingling until very recently. So, yeah.
Not without it being a scandal.
I mean, there is a lot of diversity in Peter Jackson's movie. I mean, the dwarfs, they're all Jewish. And so,
there's that.
The dwarfs are Jewish?
No, not technically.
Not technically, but
no, not technically.
The bankers in Harry Potter are Jewish.
Yeah,
wait,
that's
what?
Josh is out here saying dwarves are Jewish, but he doesn't know about the bankers in Harry Potter.
No. You what's Gimli? What's the actor's name that plays Gimli?
Dang it, his name's escaping me.
Is he Jewish?
I don't think so.
No,
maybe he is. He played a Jewish guy in. I think he played a Jewish or Arab guy in Indiana Jones.
Well, the language that they speak is based on Hebrew. The one that Tolkien made up for the dwarves is based on Hebrew.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not Jewish, but
they're not. It's a joke, but there's a lot of undertones.
Mm-hmm. What's number one?
All right. So, number one is Rings of Power covers more Middle Earth stories at once. So this is the whole thing about. Hold on, is that even true? First of all, and then second of all, this is the whole thing of them trying to be like Game of Thrones and cover a bunch of characters all at once.
Well, and the characters are the same. The Harfoots are just a mimic of Sam and Frodo, the Hobbits. It's literally the same thing. They're trying to tell it from a female, like two female Harfoots, rather than Frodo and Sam in the Lord of the Rings.
Well,
they're just telling that story.
How many storylines are we getting in Lord of the Rings? So by the time we get to Two Towers, the Fellowship is split up. We're covering Aragorn's personal story. We're covering Sam and Frodo and Gollum.
Yeah.
We're covering Merry and Pippin's story, which they actually separate for a bit. And Gandalf's kind of tied to them in some ways. And then we get into Faramir's story. So that's another storyline. And then we also have the Rohirrims.
Well, then eventually in the third, we split off even more. We get the story with Gandalf and Pippin in Gondor.
Right.
Then there's things going on in Rohan and Sam and Frodo, and so it's not a huge like jump between stories. There's only a couple, but you don't need that many. And the problem with switching between a bunch of characters is, especially if you're going to do it like they do, it's that mystery box aspect of every scene. There's like a little mystery box of what happens next, and we're gonna have to wait till we get back to these characters to see what happens next, so that we can get another mystery box, so that we can wait to see what happens next.
Now, it's Rings of Power covers, in my estimation, 3. So the Harfoots, Sauron and Galadriel, and Elrond and the dwarf. Am I missing any?
Yeah, there's the humans that are in Mordor,
but they're only they only introduced because Galadriel and Sauron show up?
No, they don't show up later.
No, the black elf.
Yeah,
whatever his name was.
Yeah,
so that's 4.
So it's them, it's him and the one lady. It's Galadriel, Elrond, and the Harfoots. That's it. It's only
4 stories. I think in Lord of the Rings, if we're talking about all the characters that are either pitted together or are on their own from Lord of the Rings, we might be talking about stories in Lord of the Rings, whereas this has 4 main ones. So I don't know what to tell you. This is just wrong. All of these points are just wrong. They're not even good opinions. They're just wrong. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
Yes.
I knew I was coming to this conclusion, but also everything around the Rings of Power is just littered with lies that from before the show came out, when they said we're taking everything from the book. If we have any concerns at all, we just go back to the book and we reference that, and we make sure we stay true and we're respectful to the source material. It's just a lie. It's been lies the whole time. And a year after it's released, we're still telling lies about it in Screen Rant articles, you know?
Yeah, well, they're trying to drum up that sympathy from.
They didn't even take into consideration that this is not lore at all. This is nothing Tolkien wrote.
They're trying to get hype back up for season 2, but I think like Disney, Disney has been seeing, they're not going to get a lot of views on this. And if they're made to actually show us real numbers this time because of, the actors' strikes and deals that they've made, if they're going to actually have to put out some numbers to this show, it's going to be wild how many people don't watch this show. And I don't even think we should acknowledge it when it comes out, because it is not worth talking about.
Here's the thing. The people who liked the show that I saw, it was very much I kind of like it. There's portions of it that are good, and it also, there's some of it's a bit long and tedious, but tell me those people are coming back. They're not. They don't care.
They're not super fans that liked it. Those are not committed to the story.
No. Those are fans they're not even fans. Those are just people who are watching the show because it's a new show and don't know anything about Lord of the Rings, haven't read the books or anything. So they're just watching it for a show.
Yeah. They watched Peter Jackson's trilogy once back in the early 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Those are the people that watched the show and kind of enjoyed it, but they're not fans. They're going to be hard pressed to sell those people on a season 2.
Yeah.
And if anybody watches it, remember they had to remove comments and ratings from Amazon Prime because they were so low.
And IMDb.
Let's not forget, season 1, out of the gate, episode 1, slammed. Honestly, the trailers came out and they were getting slammed.
Well, they had to. On the trailer on YouTube, there was thousands and thousands of comments that was like that. Some people were spamming a comment that said like, something about evil. And I don't even remember do you remember what that phrase was?
I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know what you're talking about. And
it was a quote from the book that was like, good made out of evil is not good, or something like that.
Yeah.
And people were commenting that hundreds of thousands of times to where they had to turn off the comments so that
the issue with that was that that I feel like gave them an excuse to turn the comments off on Amazon Prime and on IMDb, because they're like, well, people are just going to troll, they're just jumping on a bandwagon and trying to troll. Yeah. But what about the legitimate?
Well, it was convenient because it allowed them to mute all of the legitimate critiques of this show. I truly don't know. Like, you can screw up Star Wars and add a bunch of stupid lore that's not interesting and dumb. It is not
George
as egregious.
Lucas did that.
Yeah, it's not as egregious. I don't think anything is as egregious. The only thing I'd be more upset about is if they decided to say, hey, Hollywood, we're going to make a Jesus show because The Chosen is so popular, and they do something crazy like they did with the Noah movie, where they just completely slander the Bible.
They've done Jesus shows, and they're terrible.
I guess, like the Magdalene movie.
Yeah. They've done Jesus movies and shows, and they're absolutely awful.
Look, ruining historical accuracies and people's personal faith about who Jesus was in Hollywood is here. Upsetting wise. Then you talk about what's going to be the next thing that's going to upset that stuff that Hollywood puts out. Ruining respected bodies of work from Professor Tolkien. And I would kind of put in there, it won't be as big, but also C.S. Lewis. C.S. Lewis and Tolkien, we're talking, Tolkien's a little above him in popularity, but C.S. Lewis is right there.
Yeah, as far
Yeah.
as people that enjoy his works,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I
and
mean, you could
Netflix got to be careful with their stuff.
Netflix has to tread lightly, especially if you're just jumping on any popular trend and hiring Greta Gerwig to make your Netflix Narnia film. I'm just saying there is nothing more upsetting than the Rings of Power in the past year, probably the past decade, probably the past century when it comes to entertainment. All right.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing.
Because
Yeah.
it's not just boring or dumb or a waste of time. It's slander.
I would say I'd say Wheel of Time's pretty close to this as well, of just horrific adaptations of beloved books.
But say what you will, I agree with that. It's in the same vein, but it's not as egregious as ruining Professor Tolkien's work.
Yeah.
Or disrespecting Professor Tolkien as a creator and as a writer and as an author and as a world builder, you know?
Yep.
That's all I have. Obviously, I kind of knew it would be disagreeing, but anybody with half a brain can look at this list and know before you even read it that it is a joke, you know?
Yeah.
It's a joke to even imply that someone like Peter Jackson, who respects, and all the creators of Lord of the Rings, who respects Tolkien and his work and his intention with the story, did a worse job in any capacity than the Rings of Power.
Yeah.
Man, it's obvious. We didn't even have to go through it, but I think it's interesting to see that someone even had the audacity to write that article and publish it.
That person's never watched Lord of the Rings.
No. Definitely 100% never read Lord of the Rings. Never read Lord of the Rings.
That person's only seen the theatrical versions of Lord of the
Rings. Maybe. They watched those. They probably watched half of the first, unexpected.
They let it play in the background.
Right.
While they wrote this article.
They're like, Gimli seems to be just a comic relief. That's a good point. You know what I mean?
Do we want to thank the patron?
Absolutely.
The next. Thank you, Shelby, for being a patron supporter. If you guys want to support us as creators or get some exclusive content, go check out the Patreon. It'll be in the description below. There's a couple tiers you could check out. But thank you, Shelby, for being a Patreon supporter.
100%. I didn't intend for this to happen. I feel like I need to wind down a touch.
Yeah.
I did not expect to get worked up, but this is not a good sign for season 2.
No. I mean,
because I'm all worked up.
We went through this so much when this first season came out to where like I was just tired of talking about Rings of Power anymore. And it's gonna be that same way for season 2, or people will just ignore it. I think one of those two is gonna happen.
Well,
here's what I want to do with season 2. I know it would be really nice to just kind of ignore it and not even review it or anything. But man, I kind of want to really just go hard and really dive deep into every episode.
That 100% is going to be the culture on YouTube, is laying into Amazon Prime and these creators and how stupid they are to invest millions and millions of dollars in something that is a complete joke. You know what I mean?
We get our first strike on YouTube because we're doing hate speech.
I wouldn't be mad at that. If we got a strike or a temporary strike or something because we went so hard on Rings of Power, I would say in every battle there are casualties. You know what I'm saying?
We don't want to be the casualty.
Well, they wouldn't. You got to get 3 strikes to get your channel removed. It'd be hard strikes. There are small strikes, like you get a strike for a week. You know what I mean? You get 1 strike for a week. That's not a problem. There's a lot of people out there with active strikes on their channels.
YouTube
So,
sends us to the principal's
yeah,
office.
I think you're right, Wyatt. I think if we're gonna win the battle against Amazon Prime right now with all the trash that they're producing,
Is that what
we're
we're
just
doing?
gonna
We're trying to fight the good fight of entertainment.
and what better battlefield than on the battlefield of Tolkien, right?
Mm.
What better
Yeah.
battlefield?
Sure.
I wouldn't
I
personally.
want to fight.
I don't want to fight on the battlefield of Wheel of Time. I just don't want to.
Yeah, that's not my
What?
area. I haven't read
Yeah.
all the books.
She.
I want to fight on the battlefield of Tolkien. I want to
Mm.
be enlisted on that
Mhm.
army, And I agree with you, Wyatt. I say we go as hard as possible, join the ranks, because there's going to be a lot of people really laying into it.
And there's going to be a lot of people that don't want to watch the show. So they're just going to watch people's videos on YouTube. And I think it'll be prime time to, put out some good content.
It'll be prime time.
And the only
Amazon
people
Prime
that's going to
Time.
be looking for it are people that
We're
the
still on
only
this
people that are
topic.
going to be
We're supposed to
watching.
be moving on from this segment.
Yeah, we're
Let us
supposed to
be.
wind
This
down.
is my podcast.
We're supposed to wind down, Joe.
We've been talking about this for an hour.
You're just
almost.
angry. You're angry.
Let's
just saying,
go to the next segment.
I will choose. The only people that are going to be talking about it are ones that want to hear and want to join in and support the critiques of it.
Mm-hmm.
That show that
I
don't want this to keep happening.
I don't think we're gonna get nearly as many apologists this
Not on
time
the second
around.
round.
No.
All right, look, we'll go to the next section. We're going to be looking at a little bit of an introduction, a little bit of a background on the Wicked. And the reason why is because women will watch Wicked.
What?
And we got to get our female demographic up on the panel.
We're predicting this to be potentially a pretty big movie.
Oh, I'm very confident it will be one of the biggest movies of 2024. I'm very confident. It's probably going to be a contender between Inside Out 2, Dune Part 2, and
Wicked.
If I'm going to just guess right now, I think those are going to be the three top that are kind of fighting for number one,
We haven't had a good musical in a minute. We had West Side Story, but that was a remake and I liked it, but we haven't had a good musical in a while.
Yeah, and I think this lends itself well to something that could be enjoyed. I also think it has potential to be extremely woke.
You think?
Definitely.
Look, from what I've read about it, I read a synopsis on the story. I get big kind of musical Harry Potter vibes from this, because it especially the majority of it, I think, takes place kind of at a university. And so I think it's got potential to have that sort of Harry Potter feel.
Well, before we get into those details, I'm curious since you read the good synopsis, will you give the people that are new to this, because since we're not all familiar with the story, we're all new to Wicked. We haven't seen the stage play. I don't think any of us have read the books. People that are watching, I hope, are in the same position. What is the setting for Wicked, if you will describe it?
Yeah, it's basically there's two sisters. Let me just go ahead and pull up the article on my phone so I can remember their names. And
also have it, I think.
That way I can just sort of the names are the just what I'm looking for here.
Let's see, Elphaba.
Elphaba. And her sister is
Glenda.
No, Glenda's her friend. Later on,
Elba's history with Glenda, the Good Witch.
Yeah, her sister is
the Good Witch. That's the sister, right?
No. Nessa Rose.
Nessa Rose. Sounds good.
So
Name from
So
Game of Thrones.
the whole setting is
James.
they both go they both go to university. They are they don't know who their father is, just that Elphaba's mother was given like a potion, like a green potion that made Elphaba green.
Mm-hmm.
And her sister is disabled some way. I think she's in a wheelchair or something. She can't walk.
Right.
And I think that's from a potion as well.
Okay.
It was an attempt to make sure that she wasn't going to be green. And it made her unable to walk, and I believe it killed their mother as well. So,
and this is in the world of Oz, right?
Yeah. So they're sent to a university. That's where they meet Galinda, and there's a bunch of like drama that happens, and love stories, and teasing, and all the stuff you expect in like a sort of a university magic kind of story.
Are there men there or boys there?
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, I was getting kind of like school? Catholic girl, which
school? Elphaba and Galinda become friends, but I believe Galinda wants to marry this guy, and eventually he falls in love with Elphaba, and there's contention between them, and then eventually the story sort of moves into the events of The Wizard of Oz, where the characters are kind of living out what's happening while Dorothy is on her adventure. What's going on with the Wicked Witch, and Galinda changes her name to Glinda, and Nessa Rose, what happens and why she gets crushed by a house,
right?
And basically,
sets up good motivations for what these witches are, why they're doing what they do, and where they are in the story when we come into Wizard of Oz, right?
Right, and so that's sort of the story. It's interesting. There were a lot of different, where it, as I read it, said this is where the character sings this song, and this is where the character sings this song.
Yeah.
So there's quite a bit of different musical elements that I think could be fun. Do we know if this is going to be a two-parter?
Yes, it is going to be a two-parter. Okay. So part one
that makes sense.
Now at the end of 2024. So this is going to probably be the Christmas movie, and that's why I'm also predicting it to be pretty large, because not only is it Christmas, and not only will families go to it most likely, but a lot of women will go to this because they're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Now, to get the background of kind of the story of Wicked, basically, so it was originally a book, right? Written by, let's see, his name was written by Gregory Maguire. Not the same guy who wrote the book The Wizard of Oz, right? This is a different guy. The original Wizard of Oz, I believe, is L. Frank Boehm, whatever. But yeah, Baum, maybe. So, but Gregory, and so this guy, who actually I didn't really know him. He's kind of fallen behind the wayside. But when I was doing research behind this, I was like, oh, I feel like I should know more about this guy. Okay, so Stephen Schwartz. He is a music composer, a lyricist, and musician, right? He is best known not only for writing the play and now writing the foundation of the movie for Wicked, also composing all the songs and writing all the songs for the stage play for Wicked, the one who had the idea to take the novel and turn it into a stage play in the 90s. But he also wrote, obviously Hans Zimmer's was the composer did the music for Prince of Egypt, but he was the one who wrote the lyrics, who composed the actual singing songs, and then for Prince of Egypt, as well as Pocahontas, and the most impressive next to Prince of Egypt is the Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Freaking the Disney version. What a
Yeah.
crazy between Prince
Hey.
of Egypt and Hunchback of Notre Dame. Those are like the most iconic soundtracks and musicals of our childhood, of any childhood. They're so
Yeah.
epic.
And let's be honest, Enchanted had some bops in it as well.
It did. It really did. And
Yeah.
so
What bops?
and if you look at his list, he really did that early stuff. He was also did Joseph King of Dreams after Prince of Egypt, but then he did some smaller stuff until he hit Wicked, and then his kind of time has been spent on Wicked or like Prince of Egypt stuff or like stage things, and now he's back into the movie stuff again more intensely with Wicked Part 1 and Wicked Part 2, right? For the movies. So he hasn't done, his record's not huge, but he's done very impressive things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And honestly, I'm surprised I haven't heard of this guy before, because he writes, like, you have to think about this. The Bells of Notre Dame, he wrote that song, you know?
Yeah.
Or when the brother to Moses is singing, "Once I called you brother," like he wrote all of this, you know? Such a brilliant writer, I feel like, when it comes musically. And so I have a lot of hope for this, as long as a bunch of modern politics does not get injected into this story, into Wicked, which I feel like you think it might. I don't think it was written for that intentionally, like with the stage play.
But it would be very, very easy for them to insert.
Yeah.
Yeah, very easy. From what I read, it's pretty. I think as long as it maybe sticks to the play and does not insert unnecessary elements,
right?
It could be really good.
I'm really hoping that it turns out well. And I obviously, we're not trying to give a whole lot of spoilers. We have a whole year before this thing comes out. I think it's just important to get our feet wet. Try to create some expectation, create a little bit of education around this, because I'm sure we're going to either talk about it with people online or with each other. And I just want to, I think it's important that even a year from now, I think this is going to be a real big film the end of next year. And even when we hit the summer, they're going to come out with a trailer, and we're going to be expecting it until the end of the year. And so, and just to look at the IMDb of it really quick, we know Ariana Grande is in it, right? Let's see, Wicked. Right. Let's look at the cast list just to familiar ourselves with that. Cynthia Erivo is playing Elphaba, and then Ariana Grande is playing Glinda.
Michelle Yeoh.
Let's see, Michelle Yeoh is playing Madame Morrible. Is she going to be like a teacher at the school or something? Morrible.
Yeah, she's an important character. I believe Bach and Fierro, probably. He's an important character. Yeah.
Oh, we got Jeff Goldblum as a wizard. Oh, the Wizard of Oz.
The wizard.
The Wizard of
Oz. Wow.
Don't look at the man behind the curtain.
The curtain.
What can I
pay
help
attention
you with?
to what's right in front of you, right? So we got a little bit of Jeff Goldblum showing up as well. So that's just a rough look. Do you guys have any other thoughts outside of predictions? I'm just trying to fill in just a starting foundation for this story, because I know nothing about the stage play. I haven't ever been. I'm
never either. I've heard a few songs from it, but I've not, seen the play, so I don't know much about it either. But I've heard a few songs.
I think
outside of it going woke, what's predictions do you have, Wyatt?
I think if it would probably be in the second movie, the second part, where they actually get into what's going on during the Wizard of Oz. I think it would be really cool and interesting if they, for all of the Wizard of Oz scenes, right? With like
Right.
that take place during the original story. They make it as true to the original movie as they
Mhm.
can. That would be really
Yeah.
cool. It just like shot for shot, sort of line for line, because with the context that you have for the characters now, then you can kind of understand what's going on, and we already know what's going on with Dorothy and with the others. So it'd be interesting to see each time Elphaba interacts with Dorothy, why she's interacting with her in that manner.
Right.
You know, it would be really cool to see. It's very true to the original, while giving you the other side, the other perspective of the story.
That's good. I don't have any predictions myself at this time or
Mhm.
ideas yet. I'm sure I might come up with some, but who knows? This, like I said, we got a ways to go, and
Mm.
we'll keep talking about it. But I think this is a good starting point. I think my biggest thing I was happy was to find out about the Steven guy and
Mhm.
to understand his background a little bit, because
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked endlessly about Prince of Egypt music. I personally have a very I'm very inspired and just in awe of the soundtrack from Hunchback of Notre Dame,
Mhm.
and so yeah, this is I have high hopes for this since it's the same fellow. But I guess we'll just wait and see. I guess I am gonna wait for the movie. I'm not gonna try to ruin it by watching a stage play or anything, you
Mhm.
know. But
Yeah.
that's it. That's all I have for that. I do have a final segment that I think is kind of fun. It's kind of a guessing
Okay.
game, but I
Ooh,
do want
okay.
to. Do you guys do you want to jump into it, or do you anything you want to cushion the segment with?
Cushion.
I don't know. You got any banter? I feel like. See, I feel like when I'm outside the podcast, I think of these things as like, man, this would be some really good banter for
The
the
band.
podcast. Yeah, for the like those in between segments, and then I always
Right.
forget when we're actually on the podcast. Did you see that meme I sent to the group chat
Not yet.
of
Not
the
yet.
lady laughing? You got to watch that.
Okay,
That's
I will.
Oh.
yeah.
Which what? By the way, just I think we talked about. Did we talk about the tower on the pre-show?
Probably. I'm sure we've mentioned it. That it's a little silent on the tower at the moment,
It
but
is.
Yeah.
I've got some plans.
Well,
I
I've got
can't.
some
I
plans.
don't. I don't even want to enter the tower unless I know there's stuff going on, because I
Well,
don't want to
see,
be left on red.
what
I
if
Right.
you
kind of
don't enter the tower and you enter the secret sanctorum?
yeah. So Josh had an idea for another chat, but it's superheroes.
The secret
No,
sanctorum.
I
No,
can't.
I like the
I
idea.
can't do a superheroes and a tower. I don't want to just keep
No.
abandoning good
Here's the
group
thing.
chats.
This is
I like
not
the
appropriate
idea.
podcast stuff because people don't know what we're
Look,
talking about.
listen. I like the idea. I would like to play out a couple stories on our. The tower is where we post our wizard memes and our AI generated wizard
Well, we're
pictures.
creating. It was wizard memes, but I think for a while it kind of became
Wizard
generate some
story.
AI
Yeah,
art and create a freaking wizard
yeah.
story
And
and do
so
wizard battles together and stuff.
I've got some plans. I would like to include everybody in and have a big sort of event happen on the
Right.
tower at maybe to kind of finish it off.
To finish, we're done with the tower?
Not to be done with it completely, but to kind of give a sort of conclusion to what's going on, and maybe
So if
even
people want to tap out, they can without it being a whimper. It ends with a
yeah
bang.
yeah and
What if we did a version of the tower over on the Patreon? Is
that would
for
be
if
fun.
you join the Patreon, you got to be added to this group chat and
Hmm.
you can contribute to this story-esque
People do this kind of thing for Discord servers.
yeah.
You have fan and group interactions when you and fan art or generation when you get in the Discord server. So we're not on Discord, but that would be the kind of thing you would do over on Discord, right?
Yeah, and that could be fun. I'm just saying, if we wanted to move away from the wizards, we could move into something like superheroes or something where we could generate new pictures, new memes, new adventures.
I think it's fun when you guys brought Batman into the wizard battle. I'm just saying, like, I think there's a lot more avenues you can take when it comes to wizards than with superheroes.
I think we need to step away from this. It's a good conversation, but people don't know who that.
Yeah.
They don't know about the tower. We haven't.
Yeah, if you're interested,
if you're not part of the Patreon.
Join the Patreon and we can talk about it. But let's do this last segment.
Money in filmmaking. So we always are talking about, we're always talking about budgets on movies, right? We're always talking about how much it takes to make a movie in Hollywood these days. There's no movie that Hollywood comes in that's under $1 million. And so I thought I'd do a little bit of a guessing game with movies for 2024, right? Now, I am going to require you boys to keep track of your own score and gentleman's agreement to not cheat.
Gentleman's agreement, no cheating.
Okay.
Keep track of your own score, please, because I'd rather not do it for you.
Gotcha. What are the rules? Is it whoever's closest to the number below, and if you go above, you lose?
Yes. So let's do that. Well, no, let's just say closest to the number. How about that?
Okay. Closest to the number. Gotcha.
Closest to the number wins the round, and you get 1 point, and the other person will see when he comes out. So I think I have over 10 movies for next year. I have their estimated budgets according to IMDb. Now, these movies are not released yet, and so IMDb numbers change, as we've seen, and information changes. So all these might not be 100% accurate, but there is some information online that IMDb is pulling from to put these numbers on IMDb, all right?
Yeah.
So these are for movies next year. I will say this to give you guys a head start. There are a fair amount of 200 millions, but there's no budget that breaks 200 million, okay?
Okay.
That's a good starting point, a good starting hint.
Good.
And there are fair that are right at 200 million. That's just what it is. All right, so we'll just go down the list. Ballerina. So we are getting into the John Wick universe. That can be an indication or not.
So we're saying what they're going to be making for opening weekend.
What their budget is. What is the budget that the studios are giving them to make this movie? Only budget. So what is your guess on the budget for Ballerina? Joshua first. And we have quite a bit, so let's go through this quick.
Oh, wait, I just messed that up.
Do not Google.
No, I'm not. I'm writing it down. Is that not how we're doing it?
Yeah, give us your Ballerina budget guess.
Oh, well, so Wyatt's going to hear my guess.
It doesn't matter.
I already have a guess.
So 130 million.
All right, Wyatt?
Mine's 157.
All right, it is 75 million, so Josh was closer.
Wow.
That is accurate to what they've been doing with the John Wick movies. So they're staying right on track with Ballerina.
75
Girls, the remake for Mean Girls. What's your guess?
That's gonna be. I'm gonna say 75.
75 million?
Yeah, that's gonna be lower.
I'm gonna go 50 on that one.
All right, so Joshua said 75, Wyatt says 50. It's 30 million.
Okay.
So Wyatt takes it. All right. Let's do Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What is the budget for Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes?
I'm just going to say 110 million.
All right, what?
Give me that 200, baby.
Yeah, it is 200. 200.
It is. I went low, but
yeah.
All right. So, Furiosa. What are we sitting at?
Ooh.
I'm just going to say 100 for that one.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. There's going to be lots of stuff going on. I'm gonna go ahead and say 150.
Wyatt with the exact amount, 150. Furiosa.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I'm guessing too low for these. What's the next
You
one?
are guessing a little too low. All right. So the next Alien movie, Alien Romulus. How much are we looking at Alien?
150.
It's done by Ridley Scott.
I doubt it. He's going to be doing Gladiator. I didn't look up that information.
Dang.
Alien Romulus. The last couple aliens have not been enjoyed.
170.
170. It is 200 million.
I'm losing. I'm going way too low.
What's that, 4 for me?
That's a wild one because that's a wild one because it does not seem like another Alien movie deserves $200 million.
I'm going based on the Prometheus and the other one where there was a lot of stuff happening in those, so I'm sure those were expensive as well.
Okay, so Deadpool 3. We might have talked about this already.
I want to say like 100, but I'm going to go 140 because I'm keep going too low.
This one was definitely, so the first movie had a lower budget. It was one of those lower budget superhero movies. The second movie had a bigger budget because the first movie did well. What'd you say, 140?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 160.
Joshua keeps going low. It's $200 million.
200 mil?
Yes. All right.
There's a lot of big name actors going to be in it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Garfield, the new animated film. Garfield.
90 million.
All right.
I'm gonna say 50 million on that one.
Garfield is 80, so Joshua takes that one.
Okay.
Well, Wyatt already won. I can't do it. I can't.
No, he hasn't won.
Plenty of movies.
I have quite a few movies here. All right. Ghostbusters, Frozen Empire, I believe is what it's called. What is the new Ghostbusters movie's budget?
I'm going to say 120 million.
I'm going to say 180.
It is $100 million, so Joshua takes that one. All right. Inside Out 2. Inside Out 2. This is the new Disney Pixar following up a very popular first film.
It was very popular, but it's an animated movie. I'm going to say 120.
Yeah, that's pretty close to what I was thinking. I was thinking one. I don't want to go too close to Josh. 140.
It is $200 million.
What?
What? What are
I don't
they
think
doing?
I deserve a point for that. We're too close.
No, you got it. Someone has to get the point.
Okay.
$200 million. And just to park on this for a second, this is the same critique that we've had because we had Mario and Wish come out this year. Mario was $100 million. Wish was $200 million. Mario did extensively good. No one went and watched Wish. This year, we have Inside Out 2 and Garfield coming out. Garfield's at $80 million. Inside Out 2's at $100 million. Which do you think is going to be considered the success? Yeah, it's $200 million. Which do you think is going to be considered the success at the end of this?
Garfield will probably make a lot of money.
I think it will.
People are still going to go watch Inside Out too, though.
Yeah,
the first one was really popular.
More than they watched Wish, but 200 million is a big number.
It's a big number to beat, but you can do it.
All right, Kraven the Hunter.
That's 150. Or no, I'm going to say that. I'm going to say 180.
Yeah. I'm going to lowball it 140.
It's 100 million.
Okay.
Gee.
All right. Joker 2.
Ooh, that's going to be a big one. 200.
I think the budget's probably going to be lower on that one. 120.
120. It is 150. So Wyatt's closer by a little bit.
Would you say 200?
Yeah.
Joshua said 200. It's 150.
Okay.
All right. Gladiator 2.
It's gonna be 120.
You gotta think about this though, Joshua. Don't forget, when a first movie's really successful, it probably is gonna get a good budget on the second one.
Yeah, but it's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
I'm gonna go 180.
180. It's $200 million is what the estimated budget is for that movie. Let's do Godzilla plus Kong.
It's gonna
200.
be. Yeah, that's gonna be 200. I'm gonna say that. I'll just say 180 for the shits and giggles.
Joshua, right on the money. 180.
Oh dang! Wow.
All right. Bob Marley, One Love.
That's 90 million.
I'm gonna guess 30 million.
It's 75. So Joshua's
Wow.
closer there. $75 million. All right. Dune 2. You should know this. I feel like
200.
we've talked about this.
200.
150.
It's 200 million.
Yeah. Wow. We couldn't both go 200.
Right. Whenever I did say 200 is the cap, so whenever someone goes 200, a good idea would go 190, so you get everything below it.
Yeah.
All right, got a couple more here. Beetlejuice 2.
120.
Yeah.
Or no, 100.
130.
I'm gonna say 100 actually.
It's 150 million, so why it's closer there. And is this my last one? I think this is my last one. Wicked. What is Wicked's budget? At least for part 1.
150.
I think it's gonna be 190.
Well, IMDb has it at $145 million. So that means Joshua takes that one.
Yeah.
I did put you guys' initials by these, so I kind of kept score. Let me tell you the score. Joshua with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have you as 7, but I could have missed one.
And so I got 8.
Wyatt with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 potentially if I didn't miscount
as well.
So, and with that, Wyatt takes the better guessing of movie budgets.
Yeah, you have to
for
call
2024. I gotta call. Well, I'll call you a good guesser.
You lost.
Joshua, call him a good man.
Yeah.
You are a dishonest man.
Hey, don't do that.
I don't think that's true, but I can't call you the other thing because that's too high of an honor.
Loser.
Swore loser. So yeah, that's all I got now, boys. I feel like I was pretty surprised by some of these numbers, but I'm also just surprised at how many productions just throw a 200 million at it. Just throw 200 million at it, watch it get made. We're doing Inside Out 2, throw 200 million at it.
You guys know what the budget for Godzilla -1 was?
300.
Wasn't it like 30 million or something?
15.
$15 million.
I said 300.
15 million.
I said 300. I was.
It doesn't take a lot of. It doesn't take a lot of money to make a good movie. It just takes a really good story and some decent visual effects. That's all it takes.
Yeah, that's it.
Because you can hire a good camera guy and a good camera for less than $100,000.
Yeah,
less. So,
I guess so.
Where's all the money going? Where's this 200 million going? Is my question.
Exactly.
I think it's going to someone's pocket.
That is a good point.
Yes.
There are. Remember in The Offer, how the mob just skimmed off of the Godfather production the whole time. I feel like that's still happening a lot.
Well, I
like
think
there's a
that
lot of
that
skimming
and
off of these movie
actors
production budgets.
demand just insane amounts of money.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
But
in Japan, where they made -1, they're not paying those actors the exorbitant amount of monies that they're paying Hollywood actors.
well, you're right, but also take into consideration Jake Gyllenhaal, who's a really big actor, only like the whole budget for Nightcrawler, the whole
Mm.
budget was 13 million.
Yeah,
And
true.
Jake Gyllenhaal was in that movie. And he
Mhm.
wasn't young. He's been popular, right?
Yeah, you're right.
So you don't if you have a good story and you get the right, you don't have to get the most expensive actor. Just get one who's good and is a star who's going to sell the film and make a good story. Those
Mhm.
people will act in your film. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say actors like worth their salt do probably one indie type film a year. You know what I mean? Where they don't collect a big paycheck, but it's more of a passion project because they really like the story. You
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
I mean, Keira Knightley's been doing that for a long time. She
Yeah.
hasn't been in a huge hit in a long time. All of her
I
stuff's
feel
been more
like
indie.
everybody who joins in on a Wes Anderson film just wants to
Be a part.
be a
Be
part of the
part of it.
movie. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
It's the
Unless
same
you're
with
Owen
Christopher
Wilson,
Nolan.
then you're just buddies.
It's
Mhm.
the same with Christopher Nolan stuff. Everybody just wants to be part of Christopher
Well,
Nolan's
that's what,
film.
Well, Christopher Nolan, people that want to be on Christopher Nolan films just want to experience the legend. You guys should listen to the Variety interview that Emily Blunt and Anne Hathaway did with each other. They just fangirled over Christopher Nolan for like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah.
You should go listen to that Vanity
I listened to the one
interview
you told us about.
with Killian and Margot.
Yeah.
But the one with Anne Hathaway and Emily Blunt is good too because they just talk about working with Chris Nolan for like 30 minutes straight, and it's really kind of fun. But yeah, I mean, I think like the movie that Anne Hathaway was just in that she's getting a lot of recognition for. I feel like that's an indie film, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Poor Things is kind of an indie film. It's not. It is getting a lot of recognition, but that's not a huge budget.
No.
Also,
No.
another interesting point: this whole list that we just went through, the only original film is Bob Marley: One Love.
Mhm.
Everything else is a prequel, sequel, remake, or Wicked is a movie from a stage play, right?
Mhm.
Well, but you can argue One Love is a biopic. It's not its own thing.
It's a
Yeah.
biopic, but it's the original. It's original idea. It is using an existing IP, the man Bob Marley,
Yeah.
to sell the film, but it's not
Yeah.
relying on an older film or anything to
Yeah, but
sell it.
we're not getting any new concepts in this new year.
No, there's no new concepts.
Mm-mm.
I don't think there's a single. There will be new concepts that pop up, but they're going to be like A24 releases it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And it's not a big hit, or it
Yeah.
could be a big hit, but it's not an anticipated film. It's going to kind of pop up, and you'll watch it or you won't, and that'll be it.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. There's going to be some gems here, but not a ton of original ideas. I don't feel like.